What is up, people? It is me, Monster58. Welcome back to another video review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Skywarp. Obviously, a repaint and a slight remold of the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Thundercracker, which we will eventually get once again repainted and slightly remolded into Starscream as well. And so this is obviously that new Seeker mold that we've been getting lately, and when it comes to this new Seeker mold, I really do think that this is the best mainline Seeker mold that we've ever gotten. And so how does it apply to Skywarp? Well, I'll tell you this right now, I do think that this is by far the best mainline accurate to G1 cartoon Skywarp that we've ever gotten, even with the miscolored shoulders. But we'll get into that later. But taking a look at the box here, obviously see the nice Transformers Studio Series, the Transformers the movie. You can see Skywarp right there. You can obviously see the nice artwork there of Skywarp both in his robot mode as well as in his jet mode. Transforms in 27 steps. I have some more nice artwork here that we saw on the front, and have some more nice artwork here of the Transformers 40th anniversary and then the Transformers Studio Series on this side, and then your obligatory product shots as well. And then you can see the actual picture of Skywarp as he appeared in the movie, and then the rest of the shots look really nice overall. And so when it comes to the box, I think Hasbro does a really good job, folks, as per usual. And so without further ado, alright, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Skywarp out of the box and in his jet mode, and he looks really, really good. At the end of the day, the one thing I'd like to point out about his color is that he is like one shade removed from being a fully black color. He's kind of like really, 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 really dark gray. Like, he's just one shade removed again from being black, and that does come with its issues. Now, when it comes to the Skywarp version of this mold, I do have a few issues here and there, but it's nothing like, deal breaking or anything like that, but it's something to know though. So first things first, I'd like to point out is that when it comes to the Decepticon logos, they're really difficult to see, because at the end of the day, when you have a dark colored Decepticon logo and a dark colored, background essentially with this, near to black color, unfortunately, they're really difficult to see because there's no contrast. And I understand, because they want to keep the Decepticon logos consistent across all the Seekers, because these are the same color as they appear on Thundercracker. But obviously with Thundercracker, it's much easier to see those Decepticon logos because he's a much brighter, vibrant color. So there's a lot of contrast there. But here, that just doesn't exist. But you can see that they are right there. They're just really hard to see. But overall, when it comes to the vehicle mode, again, it's very much the same thing that we saw with Thundercracker, just in the Skywarp color scheme. But it looks really good. I do like the choice of purple that they used here, because I think that this is a much more accurate color, because the Earthrise one, as we'll bring in here in a second, used a much more deeper, richer purple than this one, but this is more accurate. Obviously, when it comes to the null rays, you can peg them in either here or here. I like to peg them in on the outside because I think they just look a bit better there. And then he does still have his landing gear, so you just fold that in like this. You can fold it out with this little tab here, and then there you have your landing gear, which the original Earthrise mold didn't have. But you do have this gaping hole, which obviously is the same as we got with Thundercracker. Even though it is an issue, I don't think it's that big a deal, because it is, from most angles, you're not going to even bother to see it, even though it is still an eyesore. And the other eyesore is obviously going to be his feet. I kind of wish that they found a way, again, to fold these up into somewhere so that they weren't there. But overall, still a fantastic looking jet mode. Still looks really good, obviously. The nice detail here. And I forgot to initially show this, I think, in the Thundercracker review, but you can open the cockpit, so there's like a little seat in there and everything like that, so that's pretty cool. Just looks really good. Nice molded in detail all around. Nothing too crazy, but it just looks clean and solid. Again, the purple is really, really nice, and so what we're going to do here is I'm not even going to transition. Here's the Earthrise one. And when you're, oh, whoops, I even forgot to fold these down, so I apologize for that. Let's do that, and then that. Well, wow, what's the... There we go. Okay, goodness me. But you can see, you can see that why I'm saying that this, this new Studio Series one is much more, it's like one shade removed from being black. You can absolutely see that this is a slight bit darker. Like, it's ever so slight. It's probably harder to see on camera, but if you have this in person like I do, you'll see the differences. Now, the same thing, obviously, is that it's hard to see the Decepticon logos on the Earthrise one and the new one. But again, I like the purple that they used a bit better. And I don't know, I just think that this feels like a more complete package all around. It's cleaner, it looks more accurate to the cartoon. Like, at the end of the day, sure, this is more filled in here on the Earthrise one, but again, it just, I don't know, they just did a better job, in my opinion, with this new Studio Series 86 one. So overall, really, really nice. So, I do think that this is more than worthy of a replacement for this. So I'm going to set this off to the side here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to fold the landing gear out again, like this. What we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of size comparisons. So there's Skywarp. And here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnus. As you can see, he is a very nice size. At the end of the day, if you have Thundercracker, you know exactly what to expect from the size with Skywarp. And then finally, here he is with his brother Thundercracker. Now, when it comes to which one do I prefer, I actually kind of prefer Thundercracker in this one. I generally prefer Skywarp most of the time because purple is a cool freaking color. But at the end of the day, I really do kind of prefer the blue. I don't know. They just did something with Thundercracker's blue that speaks to me more than what they did with Skywarp here. Not that Skywarp is bad, just personal preference at the end of the day. But like I said, you can definitely see that it's much easier to see the Decepticon logos on Thundercracker than Skywarp. And even though I would have liked for them to maybe outline them, at the end of the day, I understand the consistency that they want to have between these three. Now, if you want my theory on what they're going to do for Starscream, I genuinely think that they're going to be doing like a coronation set again, because I think it's a way for them to redistribute the throne, because at the end of the day, if you don't know, the only other way to get the throne was to get that DCS 3-pack of Megatron, Soundwave, and Shockwave, but that 3-pack at this point is obsolete when you consider G1 accuracy, because we have Studio Series 86 versions of all those characters now, so there's no reason to get it other than for the throne, and especially with Liege Maximo out with Age of the Primes, I really do think that them making a Leader Class Starscream with his coronation gear, which by the way, I don't think his coronation gear, the previous one, can fit on this new mold, it would be a perfect opportunity for them to give us new coronation gear with the new Starscream and give us a redistribute of the throne so that maybe you can use it for Liege Maximo as well. So at the end of the day, that's my theory. But yeah, when it comes to these two look great together, regardless, I just want to say that real quick. And I cannot wait to get Starscream so that we can have the 3 original Seekers. It's really exciting. Alrighty folks, now time for his transformation. Now for his transformation, I've shown it in the Thundercracker review. It doesn't really do anything much different when it comes to like the Earthrise, which is based off of the Generations one at the end of the day. And so when it comes to the transformation, it doesn't do anything crazy, but it doesn't really need to, I guess, because you still result in an incredibly amazing robot mode. So if you wish to see the transformation, I'll leave a card in the upper right to the Thundercracker review and a link in the description as well to the Thundercracker review that I did. So if you want to see the full transformation, I show you that in that review, but I don't think it's necessary considering, again, this is just a slight remold and a repaint of that mold. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Skywarp from looking like this in his vehicle mode and into this in his robot mode. And guys, he looks fantastic. The only thing about this guy that I'll say that is a, kind of a misstep is going to be his mispainted shoulders. Obviously, they should be purple. But I'll tell you this, even with my review cap, my critic cap on, this is one of those things that just doesn't really bother me all that much. I know that may sound kind of stupid, especially considering, as a reviewer, I understand that when it comes to the Studio Series 86 line, that it's supposed to be as accurate to the movie as possible, which is obviously as accurate to the cartoon more or less as possible, despite, all the cartoon's mishaps with animation and coloring and whatnot. But regardless, yes, I understand that that is the case, and obviously he is not, right? You can very clearly see that in the picture that I showed you on the back of the box earlier, that he does have purple shoulders in most of the show, and in pretty much the entirety of the 86 movie. And because of that, it's quite unfortunate that they didn't paint them purple, but again, it's not a deal breaker for me. Like, it just genuinely does not bother me all that much. If it bothers you, I totally understand. Like, I respect that. I understand why. But for me, even as a reviewer, I don't care. Like, I really don't. He still looks great otherwise. And I still think, like I said at the beginning of the review, he's the best mainline Skywarp accurate to the G1 cartoon we've ever seen. And if you're saying, oh, but his shoulders aren't accurate, but the sculpt makes up for it, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, he looks great. So what you're going to see here is absolutely that change in the face. You can see that he has that more grumpy face. You can use a grumpy pants in comparison to Thundercracker, who has that smile. But he still looks great all across the board. That nice detailing, the smooth detailing. He's just very clean. And again, I really like how you can remove the little wings on the bottoms of his legs and then put them on the back there. That just looks really cool. And just like I said, he cleans up really well. Like, there's nothing really on the back here. And so when you bring in the Earthrise one, I just really think, like, even with the correctly painted shoulders here, I think that the purple just looks better here. I think they did a better job of cleaning him up. He doesn't look as blocky or as bulky. He looks very streamlined. He just looks better overall again. Like, I know that obviously they do still have different face sculpts, but again, regardless, I just think that even when you spin them on the back, he's just cleaner, and he just looks better, and he's a little bit taller, too. You can obviously see that. He's just a tad bit taller. But overall, when it comes to the new Series 86 one, I think that there's no competition still which one of these is the better figure that represents Skywarp from the G1 cartoon. I absolutely think it's the SS86 one, which makes me even more excited, again, for Starscream to come out, because I cannot wait to have all three of them in this new Seeker mold. And again, I really hope they do make a Ramjet, Thrust, and Dirge with all these three. But regardless. So, Overall, when it comes to Skywarp, I think he does look great. And so what we're going to do is we're going to leave him sitting there, and we're going to bring in Magnius as well as Thundercracker. Hey folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnius. And then here he is with his brother, the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager Class Thundercracker, and these two look great together. Again, it makes me really excited to get Starscream. And just like, Thundercracker here, I did mention this, but the null rays are clear plastic painted purple. So they're molded in clear and then they're painted purple. And I say for Thundercracker, they're a little less they match a little less, but for Skywarp, I think they match up pretty damn well. But again, you can see a little bit of it. But overall, these two just look great together. Again, just waiting for Starscream at this point. I have no major complaints with this guy. Alrighty guys, for his articulation, and this is where there's a little bit of a fault, but obviously that carries with the mold, and it's just the lack of a significant waist joint, but he does articulate better than the Earthrise one. So you do have a ball joint at the head, you can do a full 360, you can look down and up an okay bit, like this with this little extra neck joint he has. Your arms can do a full 360, but obviously the wings block it. They go out, they go in. You have 90 at the elbow, and then you do have wrist articulation, which is really, really nice. No opening or closing fists. You have a little bit of a waist, which is way better than the Earthrise one, which had no waist swivel whatsoever. But yeah, the front skirt can flip up. You can go out. You can go forward. You can go back. You can go out. You can go in. 90-degree bend at the knee, rotation to the upper part of the thigh, and then some nice ankle rocker pivot. But again, be careful with the toes, because unfortunately for this mold, the toes do like to kind of come off very easily. So just be very careful when you're messing around with this guy that you don't knock the toes around. But again, he poses quite well. Again, it's just that really, that lack of a waist joint that kind of does suck. But overall, when it comes to how this guy's articulated, he still articulates way better than the Earthrise one. And he's pretty solid, like overall in general when it comes to, articulation in general. There we go. That's better. Alrighty, folks, for his reverse transformation. Now, when we get into the reverse transformation, there's something I didn't mention earlier in the video. I do think that when it comes to my copy, he's a little less put together than Thundercracker. Unfortunately, that part when you fold the cockpit and you snap it into the back top of the jet, that doesn't like to stay pegged in on mine very well. Now, I've watched some other reviews, I think from MGO as well as that toy guy who got theirs before or at least they reviewed theirs before I did. They seem to have solid copies, and so from what I've seen, I think it might just be my copy. Just be aware of that. It's not a huge knock against the figure because I'm going to have this guy in robot mode for the most part, but it's something to note of if you do want to display this guy to an extent or take photos of it in his jet mode. I do have a little bit of an issue there, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just that any little movement and you push the cockpit just a little bit, that'll come undone. But overall, when it comes to the reverse transformation, it's just more or less as simple as getting him to his robot mode. Nothing too crazy, but it doesn't really need to. If you transform the Earthrise one or any of the ones before that with this similar mold style, you'll understand how to transform this guy. So we're going to take Skywarp from looking like this in his robot mode and back into his jet mode. And so, folks, for all my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Skywarp, when it comes to the Skywarp parts of this mold that I'm not the biggest fan of, let's get those out of the way. First things first, the Decepticon logos are hard to see. It's kind of a nitpick, but I want to point it out because it does suck a little bit, but it's not all that bad, just something to point out. Also, when it comes to the robot mode, the fact that the shoulders are not painted the best is, painted the correct color, does kind of suck. But at the end of the day, like I told you earlier in the review, it's something that doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, I definitely understand why. The other thing I'd like to say is, again, it just feels a little less put together than Thundercracker, but again, that might just be my copy because I've seen other people's copies seem perfectly fine, so that might just be me at the end of the day. But when it comes to the other negatives about this mold, that little, open space in the bottom of the jet mode is a little bit of an eyesore. The fact that the feet can't fold up is a little bit of an eyesore. And then you get him to his robot mode, and the major issue that I have is the fact that he doesn't really have that much of a waist joint. Sure, it's way better than the Earthrise one, but it's still not a full 360, which is what we all would have preferred. But at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing whatsoever. It's just the fact that he can't, fully turn his waist or anything like that. But he still articulates quite well despite that. However, when it comes to the good for this figure, in my opinion, it's still by far the best mainline Skywarp, accurate to the G1 cartoon that we've ever seen, despite the miscolored shoulders. The jet mode looks fantastic, despite the couple of small eyesores and the lack of being able to see the Decepticon logo super well. I love the purple that they chose here, this more pastel-y purple. It pops a little bit more for me rather than the deeper, richer purple that they use for the Earthrise one. He looks great in the basically near to black color as well. All the detail is very nice and clean. Then his transformation doesn't really need to do anything crazy. I do like the part of the transformation where you fold in those little parts of the waist, though. That's a nice little, tidbit of cool engineering that they did for this figure. I also really like when you get him to his robot mode, you do have the ability to remove those wings on the bottom of his legs, put them on the back of his wings just like Thundercracker to give him a cleaner look. That is awesome. That is one of the best one of the best versions of parts forming that I think we've seen in a long while. I also like in the vehicle mode you can open the cockpit, and then when you get into his robot mode, god man, he looks so good. The fact that his shoulders are miscolored doesn't really bother me all that much when the sculpt of the figure is this good. He just looks so much more streamlined, looks a lot more or less blocky, very accurate to the movie and the cartoon. He just looks really, really nice and clean. I do like the more, I guess like frowny face he does. It gives him a little bit of more delineation from his brother for Thundercracker. But at the end of the day, he just looks really good, man. I just really like him overall. And so I'm going to give him the same score I gave Thundercracker, which is an 8 out of 10. Now, would I recommend you buy this guy outright for full price? Not necessarily, because here in the US, with the price hikes and everything like that, unfortunately, this guy's going to run you about 45 buckaroos. But if you do have the money, yeah, why not go and buy this guy? He's a great figure, but still, at the end of the day, I do not, fault you guys for waiting for a sale, because, those price hikes are quite large, and so not everyone can just drop 45 bucks randomly. So, really solid figure overall, and I cannot wait for us to get Starscream, hopefully, relatively soon. So, I did pick mine up IRL. I did find mine at my local Walmart not too long ago, but I felt that the ability to be able to review this is pretty simple, considering that he's just, again, a slight remold and a repaint of Thundercracker. So, when it comes to the Seekers, we've all come to accept that as Transformers fans, that they're all going to be like that, but why wouldn't they do that? They're all basically the same looking character anyway. But if you do decide to hunt this guy IRL, I wish you the best of luck in doing that. But I will also leave links down in the video description to Big Bad Toy Store, where I had him pre-ordered initially, as well as Amazon and Hasbro Pulse if you wish to use those other online retailers instead of Big Bad Toy Store. But with that all out of the way, I think that's really it for the review. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.